All right, we're COMP308, and this is week 10, lesson 10, part 3. And we're back from a short diagnostics break. I went around, make sure everyone was ready to go. And we're here with these files. And what I want to try and do here is kind of go through these things and go to the next level. Okay, so before we do anything, we know this is going to be a new GitHub or a Git repository. So the first thing you should do, again, you can do this in Git shell or in command prompt, is git init. Now you have to be inside your folder in order for you to do this, the Express portfolio folder. Okay, once you do that, if you're in Git shell, right, then you get this funky little thing down here, which you normally wouldn't get if you're in command prompt, right here, right? And so I've put a git init. Now, in order for me to make sure I publish everything to Git, I need a git ignore file. So there's a couple things. If you're in Git shell, or if you've got npm installed, you can go touch and then go git ignore. And what touch does is it adds a file. Okay? If you just put touch.gitignore, it adds a file automatically. Okay, but the file is empty, right? And we need to populate it. So of course the easy way to do that is to go into your Express folder here. And here's my gitignore file. I'm going to right click it and use my favorite text editor. I'm just going to use Sublime for now as a text editor. And if you notice right now, it is empty. My gitignore file is empty. So I'm going to go in there and put in a couple things. Just because we work on Macs a lot, or some of us do, for best practices, always put your kind of a .ds_store. That's the first thing you should put in there. If we're ever going to work with Cloud9, right, we're going to go C9. We're going to put that in their gitignore. We're in our gitignore file right now. Right? For if you work with Cloud9, you don't want the Cloud9 stuff to go up, right? And if you ever do that. And of course, we don't want node modules. That's another one I don't want to include when I do my GitHub stuff, right? I'm going to Control S to save, but these are the three things, the very minimum, you should not include. Some of you may choose not to include images and something else that you don't want up on GitHub. But these things for sure are the things that you do not want to include at the bare minimum. Are we on the same page here with gitignore? Okay, so once your gitignore file is done, I go back here as an example. If I do an ls or dir, if I do an ls here, if you notice my Git shell is telling me there's like a few additions that I've got in here that I've got to add in, right? So now that I've got my gitignore file, I can do git add. I'm just clear the screen here for a second. I go git add dot. Git add dot adds all the files that are not in your GitHub or not in your gitignore file to the staging area. And you might get some of these errors here like this. All right. I guess can't see what I see. How's that? So git add dot is what you want to use. I didn't realize I was cut off. It's weird. Must be the projector in this room is way up there. It needs to be adjusted. Are we good? Okay. So once we've done that piece, we're going to do a git commit -m, right? That's typically what we do. And then something like an initial commit, right? And then it's going to add everything to, it's going to be ready, in other words, for us to send it off to GitHub. Now, we don't have a GitHub repository for this, so let's create one. So we're going to go up into GitHub, and you can tell it's St. Patrick's Day. GitHub.com. I'm going to go plus on my GitHub and add a new repository, and I'm going to call this, of course, the same name as my folder, which is Express Portfolio, right? And then click Create Repository. All right, now it gives me instructions on how to link my GitHub to into my folder, and this is how you would do it. You take this line here, git remote add origin remote, copy, right, and then go back into your Git shell, and I'm just going to do a clear for a second, and paste. right? So it should be something like this: git remote add origin HTTPS whatever your it's github.com, whatever your account name is, and the name of your repository, which is Express portfolio.git, and then you press enter, and that adds the remote. And then once you've done that, you can do a git push -u origin master. And once you've done that, and you may have to log in if you're using command prompt, it sends it off to GitHub. Are you guys there with me? Anyone not here with me? I know, sometimes the push takes a second. You good? So again, I added the remote, git remote add, and again, from your repo, it's going to give you the instructions on how to do that if you don't remember, right? Is your push done? Still? Okay, so, and just to prove that this is up, I'm just going to refresh, and then I have my portfolio. But if you notice, I don't have a node modules because I included it in my gitignore file, right? I do want to add a README up here though too, so I can do it here online because I'm right here online. I'll add a README, and I'll put in something like this is a demo project to help students get started on assignment 3, right? Now you can put whatever you want. You can put something like, this is my assignment 3, you know, and press commit a new file. Now that's good. I've got it here, but now I'm ahead by one commit on my GitHub. I've got to sync up with it locally, and the way I would do that is, of course, I would do something like this: git pull origin. And when I do that, if everything goes well, I've pulled my README file down from GitHub. Git pull origin. Once you've done it. Are you guys with me? Are you okay? Okay. Who's got other problems? Anyone else with problems? You guys are good? You're okay? Still not working for you? Okay, I'll come and help you out at the break, and I need to help you at the break as well to catch you up. Okay, so now that we've done this, I'm going to clear the screen. If I go ls, I have the same stuff, but I have a README file and a gitignore file. Those are the two things that I have a little bit different. If I go git log actually shows me my all of my commits. I have 2 commits. I have one that's an initial commit, and the other one is create README, which is done online. And each commit has its own code, right, which shows us almost like a timestamp, and that's really what it is. A timestamp with some other funny characters that makes it different than every other commit, right? So you can never have a clash of commits, right? That's what it does. All right, if I go git status now, it's going to say I'm up to date because I've got nothing else to do. My branch is up to date with origin master, okay? And I'm just going to take a moment, so you may have to fast forward this so I can help you. Yeah, because the reason why you don't touch it is you're not in git shell. You have git shell? All right, so you don't have git shell. That's why you can't do this. So the big one is created like this. So, go to the folder, right? So there's your folder. That was one. So here's your Express portfolio, and then from here I want to create a new file. So that's a new file, text file. The problem with it is never back to text file. That's the problem. And then now from here, I want to go into the field class, and we're going to do a DR text file. because we don't have move rename. All right. Okay, we're back. Sorry. Okay, so we've done that. Now is the next piece, and the next piece actually is the work we have to do. So we've got our repository up and running, and what we really need to do now is start by putting stuff together. Now I'm going to be using, I don't have to use Cloud9. I'm going to use my local IDE brackets. And if you have something in brackets already, like I do right now, I was working on something else, that's okay. Because what you can do, I'm just gonna X out of all these things. I can just drag and drop Express portfolio into my gutter here, my outline, and it's gonna have my new stuff that I'm looking at right now. So this is my Express portfolio. I'm using brackets. Again, you can use your favorite IDE. If you want to, you can always use Visual Studio, but my recommendation to you right now is it's just gonna complicate things for you. So let's leave it alone. Okay, so here we are with brackets, and I want to start looking at a couple files. One of them is I want to look at my package.json file, right? My package.json file tells me what my site is all about, right? Take a look. So it tells me my dependencies, remember? And it also tells me my name and my version and all that kind of stuff. These are the things that it covers, right? One thing I want to do for sure is add a couple of additional dependencies before we move on. Right? Now, one thing you may want to do, and I highly recommend this, and you can do this with git shell or command prompt, is install something called Node Monitor, right? So we're going to do that by going npm at the prompt. Doesn't matter where you are, and you don't have to be in a certain directory. Npm install nodemon -g. Nodemon. And if I press enter, it's going to take its time to install the latest version of Node Monitor on my system. Now this is really cool because what it does when it's done is it allows us to do stuff to our portfolio without rebooting the server all the time, because our server is the biggest pain in the ass. You do something, change root, and all of a sudden you got to reboot your server again, right? So instead of doing that all the time, right, NodeMon will allow you to change stuff. Here's an example of that. If I go into my folder now, so it's Express portfolio. Oh, I gotta go into desktop. That would be good. Okay, here it is. So here's my Express portfolio, right? And I want to run it. Now there's a couple ways to run this thing, and the biggest pain in the ass is actually putting something like this. Debug equals to blah, blah, blah. You don't want to do that. And just running like node and whatever the server name is, like app.js, is not good enough. It doesn't give you enough diagnostics. And sometimes you want to do something like this, npm start, which is the right way to run your stuff, right? So if you put npm start in there, this is great. My bin is working, and I get a little bit of stuff. I'll get some responses. So if I go back into localhost now, right? Here's localhost, and I want to run 3000, right? Then I'm going to get my Express. And if you notice, I'm going to get some diagnostics down here that tells me that I've pulled a style sheet and so on. These are good things, right? However, if I change my anything with my Express route, this will not be reflected over here and will not actually show me. I have to reboot this thing. I have to shut it down like Control-C to shut it down, right? And then what I need to do is I need to start it up again by going npm start. And I got to keep doing that over and over again. But with Node Monitor, as long as you've installed Node Monitor, you just have to do one of these, node mod, at the folder you're going to run this. And if I do that, what it does is there's a different set of commands that watches for any changes that go on inside your files. Any changes, it'll reboot the server right away for you. So you don't have to do anything like that on your own. So very nice little utility. Again, it's not as good as Gulp for automation perspective, but you want to run node mod. Okay, so now, for example, I want to change anything I change in my files. And I'm just going to minimize this for a second. So again, here's my, watch Node Monitor, what it does. So I'll put this on the side for you so you can see. So I'm in here looking at my package.json file, and I want to go into views. Go into views with me for a second. And I want to go into my index.ejs file. Okay, if you notice my index.ejs file, and I'm going to add in, lorem 50. Actually, a p tag with lorem 50, right? Which is a bunch of stuff here. Once I save this thing, I'm going to save. I haven't saved it yet. Once I save this thing and I go Control S, right? If anything happens, anything changes here, it will reboot, right? Now, nothing happened because I didn't change my server pieces. I just changed my index.ejs. It's not watching that piece right now. So if I go back into my local host and refresh, I get a bunch of this other stuff, this other paragraph tag, right, that I kind of put in here. Right? All I did was add it here. EJS is the template engine, and instead of HTML being the ending, we use EJS, right? Because that's our templating engine, and that's what we're going to change. Okay, so again, if you notice, this is what happens here. Nothing's happened here, but look, it actually tells us. I pulled a style sheet because I ran, I kind of went to my site. Okay, but what if I change something on the server? Like, for example, you know what? I don't think that I want my routes for users. So my user route for now doesn't make any sense. I'm going to erase this thing. So I kind of delete it. Watch what happens. So I've deleted my index, and then it goes, bam, it broke automatically. Why? Because it's telling you it cannot find module routes users. I've deleted it. Well, let's fix that. And my server's still running. Okay, watch. So if I go back into my app.js and I want to remove that route, which is right here, right? And this is on line 9, I'm removing it, and I go Control S for save, right? My app.js has changed, and it's going to run it again, and it says, hey, you're still looking for users, Tom, right? When I go app.use, which is down here, so I got to make a few changes. I got to get rid of this one too, because I'm getting rid of my users route. Control S for change. Once I made that change, now it's running again. So I don't have nothing to do. I don't have to reboot my server multiple times. It's a pain in the ass, right, for me to do that. That's one of the things I didn't like about Node.js when I first was learning it. Okay, so now I'm good to go. It's running, and I can run my portfolio thing again. Here it is. And when I do that, it's going to give me responses that I loaded up my style sheet. Okay, now if I know things correctly, how would you cut and paste and copy stuff into your portfolio? Well, your portfolio might have many pages, right? So as an example, most portfolio sites have, in your particular case, I asked you to do 5 pages, your home page, I asked you to do a contact page, a bio, all these other things, right? Services and products and so on, right? Well, these would just be other pages, right, in here. However, what I'd like you to do is create templates, right? So here's my first template. Now my template might have some kind of navigation scheme on the top, right? And my title right now, this thing that I'm getting my title from, this is coming from my roots. If I go to roots here, under roots, I have another index.js file. Inside, and again, it's because we're using an MVC pattern, a lot of our files are buried inside of our folders, but they're there, right? So here's my index.js file, and if you notice, I'm passing in a variable called title into my index template. That's what this happens, and this happens when I want to go home. So if I want to declare some more routes, right? For example, I don't want to just go to my index template. I can have the same index template, but when I go home or about, I don't want to say my title won't be home. My title will be about or products or services or whatever. So I would set all this stuff up first for yourself. And the way you do that is create multiple routes. So this is my home page, and let's say your title would be welcome. Welcome to your portfolio site. Whatever you put on your portfolio site, welcome to my portfolio. Whatever it says, right? Now this is going to be different for everybody because this is what this route is. Okay, now I haven't changed anything if you notice, so my server is still up and running. Until I save, and you see this little dot here that tells me I need to save, I'm going to create a couple more routes. So I'm going to kind of Control-C this one. And again, I'm in routes index.js. That's where I am. I'm going to Control-V a couple times, right? So maybe one more time. 5 pages, right? So this is my home page. This is my about page or bio, whatever you want to call it. Let's call it about. And then my title is going to change and use the same. I'm going to use the same template, but my title is going to be about me. As an example. And this is the template that I'm using, index. This is pointing to this index template that exists in this views folder. That's all it's doing. So I'm saying when the user puts in this, go to the index template and use this variable and pass this variable into the template, right? Now, this is going to change for my about page. When the user goes to about, or whatever your link is going to be, right? Then use the index template and put this as the title, right? Okay, and let's keep going. When I go to my products page, which would be here, products, I want you to say products on the top, right? Okay. When I go into services, I want you to say services, right? And when I go to contact me, a contact link, if that's what the link was called, then I would do contact. Okay? So this is a change I made. Now watch. I'm going to update some of these things too. So just my comments, products, and this should be services, just so my comments are clear. And my home page should be changed to contact me page. And I want to add some spacing in here just to make it more clear. I don't need them. I don't need the spacing. I'm just putting them in. Okay. And once I've done that, I'm just going to pull it down so you guys can all see it. Watch my server when I save. I'm going to save. And when I save this thing, my routes change, right? So my server gets restarted. See? My server just got restarted. Now if I go back up here, and at the top, I go, instead of localhost 3000, first of all, I'm going to refresh. Welcome to my portfolio. That's the first thing it says, right? And now I got to change this because it says welcome to, in my header, then my actual template needs to change. If I go / about, right, it says about me, right? If I go / services, it says services, right? Because my page content isn't changing. All I'm doing is using the same template that I'm injecting a variable into, right? So those are the first things I make a change to. My route has to change or else I can't find my routes. Okay, that's cool. And by the way, you see that this is what it's done. It's telling me, the server's telling me where the user has gone to get information. Okay, so I need to add some changes to my template now. So I'm going to go back to index.ejs here. In my template, obviously this template isn't very good. It's just a very basic template. And I need to add in the piece parts for Bootstrap or Foundation or whatever. Now, if you're, I don't know who's using Foundation for their project. Are you going to use Foundation or Bootstrap? If you're going to use Bootstrap, it's good. You're fine. I don't mind that. Let's put the Bootstrap pieces in place. So, in other words, if you notice, Style Sheet is where we keep all of our style sheets right now, but I don't have to. If I go into my public folder, right, I have my images, my JavaScripts, and my style sheets. I want to change these things because to me, I don't like the way it looks. So I'm going to change the stuff in my public folder here I'm going to rename stuff. So my JavaScripts, I'm going to go into my folder view here. I'm going to rename into scripts, capital S, because I'm matched up with my Microsoft way of doing things. Style sheets, right? I'm going to rename into CSS, right? And images, I'm going to bury inside of an assets folder, right? So I'm going to create a new assets folder. So I'm just rearranging my structure, right? Assets, lowercase, and put my images in my assets. And inside my assets, I also want to have a couple new things. I want to have audio, if I'm going to have any audio components. And I'm also going to have fonts in here as well. So here's my fonts, right? So these are the things I want in here, right? For any custom fonts. Okay, cool. So I got my assets, my CSS, my scripts. I want to put a new folder inside my scripts called lib, right, for my libraries. So there's all my library folders in there. Okay, so I've reformatted what's inside my public folder. My public folder, remember, has been added to my path, so I never have to include it from a path perspective, right? And neither should you, right? Or else we get an error. Okay, so I've done my reformatting here, and now I need to pass in a few things. Well, in my library, right, so I have some libraries here on the Mac side. I already have all the things I need. So if I go to libraries and I want to pass in things like my Bootstrap stuff, here's my Bootstrap stuff. It's CSS. I'm just going to take this whole library. I'm going to make another Finder window for a second. Right now you can download your Bootstrap from Get Bootstrap as an example fresh. If you already have it, you don't have to do that. And again, Get Bootstrap. If you want to get your Bootstrap stuff, it's getbootstrap.com. And then from here, you just download Bootstrap. And now they're at level 3.34. That's actually newer than mine. But don't worry about that. This is 3.32, so that's pretty close. Okay, so I'm going to go into my downloads here for a second. And I'm just going to pop in. So kill this. I'm going to pop in Bootstrap. So I'm going to copy Bootstrap. So imagine if I'm just downloading it now. There it is. And you know what? I want to include Angular just because I want to be prepared, because I know I'm going to need Angular at some point in the future. So I'm going to copy Angular and put that in my downloads folder too. So I got both those frameworks now. And you know what? I wonder if Bootstrap comes with jQuery. It may not, right? So if it doesn't come with the latest version of jQuery, you can always download. I got jQuery right here, jQuery 2.1.3. You can always download jQuery and put that in there as well, right? But for now, let's leave it. I'm going to kind of copy it for now, put it in here. And you know what else I want? I think I also want my reset.css, because I think I need that. Or you can use normalize, whatever you like. Here's my reset.css. You can copy that in there too. You can get that from online. Remember that reset site? Okay, so I've got a couple of things here. By the way, I'm going to share my GitHub in a second once I make all these changes. Okay, so I've got my Angular, my Bootstrap, a couple libraries that I need. And now I'm going to go back over to the PC side. And if I go to downloads, of course, I have all that stuff, right? Now, how do I populate it? Well, I'm just going to pull up both folders for a second and kind of put one next to the other. And here's my public scripts library, and I want to kind of throw in there all my libraries from my Bootstrap. So I go Bootstrap first into my JS file, and I want to take the bootstrap min.js and then kind of copy that across. All right, so that's one of them. All right, and the other one I'd like to have in there, of course, since we're in Bootstrap, let's go back out to CSS. I think it's important for me to do that. Here's CSS. And I don't like style, by the way. Style.css doesn't mean anything to me. I'm going to rename that to app.css, which is for me, right? Or in your case, it might be custom.css or whatever. But in my CSS folders, I want to put in Bootstrap. I'm going to put my theme in there because I like my Bootstrap theme. I like this one. So I'm going to put this and the map in there. So copy that. Put that in there. And I also want to put my min here, this one here. Copy that. and kind of go in there as well. Okay, so I've got my Bootstrap CSS in there and a map. I also want my reset CSS. Now that I'm on my CSS, let's finish Bootstrap first. Also my fonts. I'm going to need my fonts if I choose to use the built-in glyph icons that come with Bootstrap, right? So although I have an assets fonts folder, this is for my custom fonts if I'm going to use any. Here, I'm going to put fonts here so it's in the same level as where it would be in CSS, so I don't have to do a lot more changes to my bootstrap.min file, right? So I'm just going to pull my fonts into this level as well. That's for Bootstrap only. Okay, so I got my CSS, my fonts, and my JS. My Bootstrap is done. Let me go and pull in my Angular stuff now. There's a lot more stuff for Angular. And I know for Angular, if I go into scripts lib, I know for Angular I'm going to need a couple things. I'm going to definitely need my Angular if I'm going to go with Angular. I'm going to need my Angular.min .js file, right? So here's my loader, my resources. Do I even have it in here? I do. It's on the top. Angular.min.map, and here's Angular.min.js. I need these two things, copy, and put them in there. And I also, you know what, I know that I might need resources at some point. If I do any kind of RESTful API stuff, I want to use resources, so I'm going to take the resource link here, right, and put that in there. And again, you can download your Angular stuff from the Angular site. I'll show you where to get that in a second. And then I'm going to do my same thing for my routing. So here's my route min, because I think I need all these things. Typically, these are the things I use when I do Angular, right? So these are all the things I need. Okay, this is all good. For Bootstrap, I also need jQuery, right? Because I can't use Bootstrap without jQuery. So I'm going to have to go back in there. But let me finish off Angular. For Angular, I also need some other stuff. So let me just go back out. My version text. Oh, under docs, this is interesting. If you go into JavaScript, there's a set of different things you can find here as well. Some of these things for Angular Bootstrap, as an example, it has the bootstrap.min.js file, which is what I was missing. Sorry, so I have to put that in there too. So I'm going to go into scripts, libs. I don't know why I was missing that. My map file. Because without the map file, some browsers complain. There it is, right? So I've got those in there as well. So I've got the map files for everything. I do need to go back into the Bootstrap folder for a second. So I'm going to go back out. I'm going to go back into Bootstrap, into JS, or is it into CSS? I can't remember what it was. Yeah, no, it's not here. I need jQuery. If I can't run jQuery by itself. So I'm going to take this jQuery file, and I'm going to grab this and put this in here as well for Bootstrap, right? jQuery 2.1.3. And you know what? Just to keep it simple, I'm going to rename this version of jQuery that's in here just to jQuery. Okay, that's important to do. My reset.css, I'm going to put that back in here as well, into CSS. Here's my CSS file. There it is. So I've got all these things in here. Okay, so I've built up kind of most of the files that I need. I don't think I'm missing anything at this point. So I'm just going to drop out of downloads for a second. Okay, cool. And I'm going to drop out of this as well. Now I got to change my template. So my link says link style sheet, right? And then this way. But if I was actually going to type it into brackets, I would just go link dash, and it gives me the format that I need. And if I start typing slash, it's going to give me the exact route. So public, right? And then from public, it's going to be CSS. And then I need to put my reset CSS in first. Now watch, I'm going to change things up in a second. Right? I'm going to do my next link, and I want to go public and I want to go CSS, and I want to do my bootstrap.min.css file, right, after my reset. Okay, and then I want to go a link, and I want to go public, and I want to go CSS, and I want to go CSS bootstrap, that minimum, the theme I want, right, for the CSS. So I want both, right? And after that, I want to go to link, and I want to go to public, and I want to go to my CSS file and get my app.css, which is my personal CSS file. Okay, cool. I've done that change. I'm going to save it. And I'm going to go back into my CSS file, make sure that my app.css is blanked out because I don't want anything in there. So this is all prep for your project, right? Okay, cool. Now, I got to add my scripts in there. So I'm going to go back up to index.ejs, and let's get rid of some of this text. I don't need this body text at all. And this set of welcome to inside the title, I'm going to change this just to the title. And again, remember, if you use these less than, percentage equal, and then percentage greater than, anything that's in there, like this title, is actually it's actually a variable that you're injecting with Express. I don't need the paragraph tag in there right now, just the title. And then the body, I'm going to put in my links for my JS files, right? So I'm going to go script, and inside my script file, I'm going to go source, and I'm going to go dash public, and the first thing I need is jQuery, so I'm going to go to scripts, lib, right? And then of course jQuery is going to be the first one I put in, right? So if I look down here, jQuery, right? After jQuery, I'm going to put my Bootstrap stuff in, so script dash, source, and I'm going to modify everything afterwards to make it all work. Okay, I'm going to go into public, scripts, libs, and the next one is going to be bootstrap.min.js. I need that one. Okay, I got my Bootstrap in, and now I'm going to put after my Bootstrap, then I'm going to put my Angular stuff. So script, source, equals, and of course I'm going to go do the same thing, public, scripts, lib, and then it's going to be my angular.min.js. And that's enough for now. I have the other ones there. I also need one more I didn't include in my scripts, which is my custom app.js file if I need something. So I'm going to go new file, and I'll put in app.js because I may need my own custom script for whatever reason. Right now, I'm going to save this thing, and I'm going to go back out to index.ejs and include that one as well. So script, and then source, and then backslash public, and then scripts, and then here's my app.js. Now, I have a problem. I don't need the public keyword in front of everything, so I'm just going to get rid of it. And I apologize for this, but this is a requirement. Otherwise, it just won't work properly. I use the pathing that's built into brackets to get my path correct, but I want to take it away now because it's not the correct path. I need to remove public, or else I won't actually have a real path because public has been included and ignored in my path, the path that I've created. Okay, cool. So now I've got my my folder the way I want it, my EJS file. This is what you should have. Now I can ask, are you with me? But I went pretty fast. So now in here is where you want to add some basics. Like for example, I know that I'm going to have a header. I know that I'm going to have content. I know that in my header I'm probably going to have nav, all that stuff. But one thing to test out Bootstrap, so I know it's working, I'm going to put inside my, I'm going to create a div tag with a class of container, right? And inside my container class, I'm going to throw in this h1 tag, right? Because when I know container's active, I know that Bootstrap styles and themes are going to be active, right? Okay, cool. I'm going to save this now. This is my theme. And if all goes well, then when I launch my website, and let's go back to my thing. If you notice, all these things have changed, right? But nothing has happened here because I haven't made a change to my to anything else. If I go services now, if you notice, I get the bootstrap styling of services. And if I go back to home, right, then I got welcome to my portfolio. And if you notice, I'm doing all this now. It actually, it didn't reset because I don't have to reset when I change the web stuff. It only resets when I change my server routes and services and all that kind of stuff. So I'm ready to go. So now my portfolio is kind of up to date and ready for me to inject new things into it, right? Okay, let us do a couple things. Actually, what I'll do is I'll take the opportunity now to update to GitHub, right? I'm just gonna look at, here's my GitHub, and again, for those people who are watching or are following along, it's called Express Portfolio. That's what we're doing, right? And the last time I updated was 34 minutes ago. So I'm gonna go back here. I'm gonna stop my server for a second, Control C, and inside here, I notice I've got I kind of got some red stuff going on because it tells me my bash window tells me that I got some things to update. So I'm going to go git add dot. I'm going to clear that up. Git commit minus m, and I'm going to say added bootstrap and Angular. Right? That's what I does there. Clear. And now I'm going to do a git push minus, origin master. And when I do that, if I've done everything correctly, it's going to send everything away. Oh, now there's a couple of things that are going on too. If you notice, there's a minus. There's a -2. See that there's -2? If I go do an ls, and if I do a git status, it's going to show the two files here that I have to remove, right? So one of them is this style.css, and the other one I took away was my users.js file, right? So in order for me to update GitHub, right, otherwise these are going to still appear in GitHub, I got to remove them from using git. So I'm going to go git remove, and I need to put the full path, public style sheet and style.css. I meant remove rm. I'll be okay, Tom. Right? And did I not do it properly? Oh. Thank you. I'm still under the weather, so please bear with me. There. And I'll do the same thing for git routes git remove routes users.js, because I don't really have them, right? So now notice that I have a -2 here, right? So when I go in here again, I should do something like this: git add dot, nothing to add, git commit -m removed restructured site. I'll say restructured site. Okay, and then I can go git push origin master to push the changes, and now I should be up to date when I'm done. There we go. So now, if you notice, this green tells us that it's ready to go. This teal blue, or whatever you want to call it, tells us that we're ready to go and we're up to date. Right? So if I go to git status, it's going to say I'm good with I'm in sync with my master. And if I refresh my Express portfolio now online, then you notice that everything is as it should be. So if you guys want to grab it because you couldn't follow along, it was too fast, feel free please to fork me on GitHub and get this Express portfolio as a basis for you to start off. I highly recommend that. And then from here you would start off your assignment number 3. And what you're going to do is you're going to change your views. Each of these views, I only have one view right now, this index.ejs. That's my template. And what we want to do is form partials. Okay, let's do the partials like we did last week, and then I'll stop. I'm sorry for the people who have already done this, but I need to do that for the people who haven't started, right? So, and that's why I'm doing this thing. It's a public service. Let's take a look at my views. Okay, if you notice, I have in my views folder, I only have these two, an error view and an index.ejs view. I want to create another folder, and now you can call them partials or includes. Some people call them includes. Includes is also a fine name, right? Because these are the includes. I want to include all these different files. I like calling them partials because it's more of an Angular thing, right? So I'm going to go new folder, and inside my new folder, it's going to be called partials, right? And inside my partials folder, I want to put in a couple of partials. One of them is going to be my header, the other one is going to be my footer, and the third thing is going to be some content that I'm going to include from my about pages and all that stuff, right? So I'm going to go new file inside my partials, and my new file, the first thing is going to be my header. So here's my header file, .ejs. It's got to be .ejs. And if I go back to my index.js file, I notice that in my header, I have this container h1 tag that I was using for testing. I don't have to put that in there anymore. I'm going to take this div tag out just the way it is. I'm going to cut it, and I'm going to go back into my my partial, and in my header.ejs and kind of plop it in there, right? So I don't have to put the whole. It's not a complete page I'm putting in here. Just the partial piece that I need to include, right? Now my container is fine. My title is the way it is, and I can change this later on. I might also have some nav, right? So let's create some simple nav to put this together. So I have my title of my page, and maybe above my title I have my nav bar, right? Section, and let's just call it nav. So I'm going to go nav, and if we follow proper bootstrap principles, I'm going to go to bootstrapping. And if I go to my components, it gives you some really good information about how to create components for yourself. Like for example, I want to do some a nav component or some kind of a bar, right? And it tells you here's a nav bar, right? And it tells me how to kind of create that. So I'm going to cheat, and if you notice, it says class nav bar with a default, and then there's a container that's built in. They use a fluid container here. Fluid container means it'll kind of span almost to the end of the page, so it won't add that additional margin on each side, because it adds a little bit of margin on each side, and typically nav you want to make it so it spans the whole thing or almost the whole thing, and that's why it does this. So this is just a nav bar, and it has a header, there's a button, and all this kind of stuff. There's all this stuff there with the brand section and all that stuff. It's all built in. I'm just going to take this whole thing here and include it in my header, right? Just to give an example of how this would work. Right? So I'm going to grab this whole thing. Let's try that again. I'm going to grab this whole thing, and I'm going to go back into here. I'm going to modify it, obviously. I need to keep in mind, I want to keep this here for a second, so I'm going to put it underneath, and then I'll come back and fix it. All right? So my H1 title, right? If you notice, I've got my nav bar here, and my nav bar has a, make sure that everything is here, my brand, my collapse nav bar, it's a collapsible nav bar here that it includes, and I've got some href tags that I'm going to use here. I've got a divider and a separated link and all this kind of stuff. This is a drop-down menu. I don't really think I need a drop-down menu in my nav, right? Because that's something that's extra. But let's include this thing the way it is right now so you see what is going on, because your portfolio page can be different anyway. And I want to use this part here. I'm just going to Control X this part. And underneath my nav bar, I'm going to put this kind of hello, whatever my thing is going to be. So I got my nav bar, and underneath that, it's going to be this, right? And inside this whole thing, if you notice this nav bar header, I can actually include this in an outer header div. So I'm going to say div with an or maybe a header, sorry. And I'm just going to take the end of this. and put it all the way at the bottom. I'm not changing anything because it's just default stuff, right? Kill this. And now I want to include this header.ejs file in my index.ejs file. I'm going to do that by doing this. I'm going to say %, and I'll end it off with these kind of marks, and I'm going to go include, that's the file, that's the name I'm going to use, and then header.ejs. Right, so that's my first thing I'm going to add in. I'm going to Control S for save, and when I go back to my page, here's my page again, right, and refresh, and then I should get, oh yeah, my server's not running. That would be bad. Here's my server. I'm going to make it run again, so I'm going to go nodemon. There we go. And now I go back over here and refresh, and it says, hey, no such file or directory. NOENT, no such file. It says, I'm looking for this header.ejs file. It says, C users, no such file directory, C users Tom, desktop express portfolio, views, header.ejs, right? I'm looking for this header.ejs file, and somehow or another, it's not finding it. And of course, why is it doing that? And it's looking for this exact folder here, views, header.ejs. It's because inside here, right, I've made an include header.ejs. This is correct. It's inside partials because I didn't put it in header.ejs. I got it and put it in partials. So it's partials, and then of course there's going to be a slash. Let's try that and refresh, and let's take the slash away because we're in the same folder, and let's try that. It's just a pathing issue, right? And I got my header. Now if I go back to my, as an example, if I go back to about, I still have my header. My header is not going to change because it's been included in my path, right? Now I don't need all this stuff, link, 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 and if I look at my brand is going to be where I put my logo, right? Because that's the brand section. My drop down has a few things I don't need, so I'm going to get rid of my drop down for a second, and this search bar, which I don't need. So let's get rid of that and modify what I got. Back to header.ejs, and here's icon bar, and of course I've got my link, right? So it says UI, here's my link for my nav bar, and here's another link. These two links I'm going to change so that they actually go somewhere, right? It's because right now they don't go anywhere. So my first one is going to go to my about page, so I'm going to go something like this, slash about. Right, and this link here, it's going to say about, right? Let's just change these things first. And the same thing goes with the next one. Instead of, and actually this would be my first active link should say, because it says my class of active is home, right? Sorry, home is the first one. And this is just the slash. That's the only difference here. And this is my second link. My link is going to be about. And I'm going to put it in the slash about, because that's my route, right? And then I'll do the next pieces. Control C, Control V, about, products, services, and contact me. So here's products, services, and contacts. So I'll do the routing, about, products, services, and contact. Okay. I don't need my drop down. This is an LI with a drop down inside of it, right? So all this stuff here, all the way down to my LI, the bottom LI here, can wipe out. because I don't need any of this stuff. Because I don't care about my drop down or my all this other stuff. So bang. Right, so that's all I need here. And this is my container for the bottom. Let us refresh my page now and see what it looks like. Ah, that's a little better, huh? Now if I actually click them, about, products, services, contact, I actually change pages. So this is where I can start putting in my stuff, right? Very, very simply. You good? Am I helping? Right? I'm trying to help out here, right? Because you guys won't know how to do this on your own sometimes. Okay, cool. So I've got this piece, and inside of this piece here, this is my template for my header. Well, let's put a header. Let's put a footer in place too, because I think that's important. So I'm going to do another partial, new file. I'm going to call this footer.ejs. I'm automatically going to include it so I don't forget about it, and I'm going to kind of do one of these, right? So my footer is going to be %include partials footer.ejs, so I can include that. And my footer, inside there, I'm going to put some footer information. But let's go back to Bootstrap, because Bootstrap has some really cool things. They also have things like, sorry, I'm just going to scroll down here. They have things like progress bars and panels and all this kind of stuff. I want to make my footer kind of a panel, right? A little panel that I can put stuff in, right? So here's a panel. I'm going to grab this thing here. It's going to look like this. And I want to kind of put a panel with a heading, right? So it'll look kind of like this, which more or less is this, and the heading body. So this is pretty cool for my footer. So I'm going to kind of take that, copy it. Oh, panel with footer. I even like this part. With a footer and a header, let's do that. Copy this piece. And then I can go back to here and kind of put it in place. But before that, I'm going to actually put in a footer tag. I'm going to kind of populate this because I know it's going to go in there just to be contextual, right? So I've got my footer, and it says panel default, panel body, panel footer, right? Okay, and this is my panel content. So here I'm going to put in my my copyright statement or whatever. So I'm going to say, and my copyright statement will be right in the footer. It'll say, and you know, as an example, copy, right? Copyright 2015. And again, I can put the year and all that stuff, but that's the first thing. So there's my panel content, and in here I'm going to put my links, almost like breadcrumbs. I would put on the bottom for my pages. So I could put breadcrumbs in here. If I go back to Bootstrap, and if I look to see if there's breadcrumbs, there is. Here's breadcrumbs. Inside here, I want to make this ordered list of breadcrumbs that I'm going to use right on the bottom. So when I'm moving, I'll put this in here. In the bottom of my page, it's going to give me some pagination, right? So let's go back to here, and inside here, I'm going to kind of drag and drop this piece. Just make it ordered. And now I'm putting together some really nice stuff. Here's again the same stuff I'm going to put in here for my header. So I'm going to take these same LIs, might as well, right? Including my home. I might as well take this home LI as well. Take all this stuff, so I don't have to duplicate my writing, and just put this in here, exactly identically, right? Here's my active, class SR only, and all this kind of stuff. Okay, good. So now I have my breadcrumbs and my footer. I've updated it. As long as everything works well, if I go back into my contact me page and refresh, then I should get a footer, right? And if I go about, as an example, I can have a footer that does the products and services as well. I can go this way or this way. And of course I would have my content that fills all this stuff up. Cool? Simple, right? But I've got my header and my footer. Now I need my content. And the content are also going to be partials, right? But what you're going to do is you're going to change your partials according to where you're going, right? So you're going to still use the same index or template, right? So here's your template. My template is my index.ejs. Here it is. This isn't going to change. But my content is going to swap. It's going to change according to what my partial is going to be, right? And of course, this is going to be a variable that I'm going to pass in, right, to this thing. And I'm going to detect it. I'm going to say, I can make an if statement here that says if it's an about, if it's the about page, so if the title variable is an about page, then swap in my about me content, right? If it's the title is a services page, then swap in the services content. So how do I do that? Well, I do an if statement here, right? Because remember, you can use regular JavaScript here. So I go %if, and then I can use the title, because now I'm inside the brackets, if title, right? Or I can use a switch statement, which is better, because I'm switching the title. So switch, the title, as an example. And inside my title, I want to put an opening bracket. I can do all this just like regular JavaScript here until I need to actually do something. I can switch stuff. Okay, so switch, and then here's the bottom part of that switch, right? I'm going to use my JavaScript first, and then pump out what it's supposed to be looking like. Okay, so here's my switch. Inside there I have case 1, case 2, case 3. So case of, what should I call it? It's going to be about, or home. Let's go home first, because that's we have to figure that out too, which would be this, case this, or, because my title would be welcome, right? Think about this. Let me just do the other ones. In case about, then I want to swap out my stuff. If it's a case about, then I want to say, I want to swap out include, right, partials, and it's going to be, we're going to call it about.ejs, right? And then break, right? Just like regular JavaScript, right? And the next one was the same. So if I say case contact, or products, and then include partials contact.ejs. And I should probably put in some semicolons in there because it's just like regular JavaScript here, right? And then break. And the same thing, I'm just going to copy and paste for the other ones. So I've got the pattern now. Serve product services and contact. So I'm just going to kind of reduce this a little bit. And same thing from a tagging perspective, so it looks good. And this isn't products anymore. This is services and contact. My home page is going to be a little different. And then, of course, this is products, services, contact. Okay, so I've done this, and I've got to finish it with a % greater than sign, because that's like almost like what I would be doing. Okay, I need to include these partials though, right? So I need to make these things, and we'll make them really quickly. I'm going to go new file, and the first one is going to be called about.ejs, and then I'll make the next one, new file. I'll make that contact.ejs, and new file. I'll make that services.ejs, and new file, and then products.ejs. I don't have a home.ejs yet, but that's okay. And leave them blank for now. I just want to see if my routing works, right? So I want to just try this out first. So I'm going to go back up here, right? And I want to refresh. Yeah, that's what I thought was going to happen. So it says, could not find matching close tag because I went on different lines here, right? Which is totally cool, which means, and this is what happens when you try this out. In my index.ejs file, I need to close off each line, right? So kind of like this with percentages, right? Because even though I've got this going on, right, my case statement it's got to interpret this block of code, right, as code, right? And I got to make sure that each line of code here, right, is going to be, we're going to be good to go. Now, I thought you could do the other way, but I can't remember, to be honest with you. There's just so many times I've done this different ways that I think there's another way to do this. But anyways, yeah.
Did you want us to create the partials, or can we just create the templates?
I will accept templates. Because Although I think I put in there that you should have at least 2 as part of your assignment. Okay, let's check that out. No. Well, actually, this worked because it says no such file or directory, right? It's going to say about partials about EJS, which is, let's just check to see if I have that. Make sure my pathing is correct. Partials about EJS. I do have it. And we'll just put in some, I'll put in some regular text in here for each one of these things. About, context, footer, header, products, and services. Now, I could have done it a bunch of if statements, and maybe I have to do it with a bunch of if statements, but let's check. Yeah. So partials about, let's go back to my home page for a second, see if that works still. No, that's good. It could be, yeah, semicolons and all that kind of stuff. You're talking about inside of my my code, right? Which is inside my index.ejs, this stuff. These things here. Is that what you're talking about? It could be, but usually what happens is this is the actual line include, right? Now again, if I wanted to convert this into, if statements, I would just change the switch to if, and then I would put these semicolons in here and do one if statement at a time. But the idea is the same. It would be just like if, let's do the first one, I'll kill the other ones. If I'm checking for the title, if title, right, is equal to about, right, then I want to open my thing up. Let's just kill all this. About? You're probably right. Sorry. Oh, so you're searching for stuff, but no, but that shouldn't make it. What do you think it is? Where? Oh, you take these out, you mean? Okay, let's try it. Let me just undo. Let's see if you're correct. So I don't have to do anything here, right? So you're saying these semicolons don't have to be here, right? And let us see if you're correct. I don't think this is the reason, but you know what? Maybe it is. Okay, let's see. I hope you're right. And if it is, learning's from me. No. Okay, index that while compiling EJS inside my index. So I got this extra semicolon. Maybe the semicolons are the problem. It's not here. Maybe all the other ones. Maybe the breaks and all that. No, but again, it's different because of what it expects. It's EJS. It's not pure JavaScript. So I think maybe all of these can go. Because remember, JavaScript doesn't require semicolons. You'd like them to be semicolons, but you don't need them to be semicolons. Okay, let me try this out. While compiling index.ajs. This is the same. That's what I'm saying. It's like some kind of weird semicolon issue. Do you see another semicolon anywhere, guys? I don't see it. Because it says a semicolon is there where I'm not having a semicolon. Let's check out this other thing. So you said about isn't about, it's about me, right? That would be in my routes. Yeah, about me. Bear with me. Again, I hate troubleshooting with you guys, but because it's a pain in the ass, and it's to be honest with you, it's a waste of time. It's a waste of your time. I hate troubleshooting in front of you guys, and we always run late. And oh yeah. Oh, there's tons. I mean, you can totally figure this out. It's just that how do you know how to use a switch? Maybe that's why. So And if not, we can use if statements are fine, right? Like I said, I just use a switch because I thought it's a regular JavaScript and you can use it. That's what happens when you try different things. But I don't think this is the reason. It's giving me another thing. It says, it's looking at it while compiling it. It says unexpected token, semicolon, in C users Tom desktop express portfolio views index.js while compiling. But where's my semicolon? I don't know. I haven't seen one. Do you? There's no semicolon here, right? Because switch, and it's got my cases, and I don't see a semicolon anywhere in here. So that's what I'm saying. Something's not right, right? So my recommendation is let's just kill all this for now, just to show you it can be done, for demonstration purposes only, right? And I will just kill this, and then instead of case, it's going to be an if statement. If title is equal to about me, and we'll change this to this, and we'll change this to open bracket, right? Then I want to do this include, and I want to get rid of this. Okay, that's really what it'd be if it was about me, right? That's your if statement. Okay, so save, go back out, and refresh. If I go to about, then I get my about. So it's a bunch of if statements you'd have to do instead of a switch statement. Obviously, switch isn't supported somehow, but that's okay. Learnings for me. So again, you do that for every one of your pages, and this about EJS would be included. So you have a special page for your about. All your about information goes in there, and you don't have to change templates. The only one I'm asking you to change templates for is for your contact page, because that's totally different. Your contact page should have additional information in there. It might be different than your other page. So I asked you for 2 templates, if I'm not wrong, which is a good practice for you. And how do you change templates? Well, you do that in your routing. So if you go to routers.index, instead of it just being index, you just change this to whatever your template's called, like contact, and you're good to go. Any questions around this? This should cover everything you need for your assignment number 3. And I apologize again for those people who've completed it, although I think it's great that you did it, right? But I wanted you to make sure you had a map for how to do everything, which is due next week. I'm not going to talk about this again, right? But I wanted you to start it today, and I wanted to give you a kind of a jump start on how to do that.